Hi, I'm Barb George. I'm the Director of Family and Consumer Sciences and Nutrition at NASCO. And one of the questions that I get most often at conventions is, how do I take care of my food replicas? So today I'm going to share some tips about how to take care of food replicas because we want them to last as long as you do. I know that it's a big investment and we're very passionate about food replicas. So the most important thing is to store them well, very carefully. You want a plastic barrier between your food replica and any other surface. And the simplest thing is just to use a plastic bag, any kind of a sandwich bag, a fold close or a zip closure, whatever you like. And I keep each replica in its own bag. So I'll put all the strawberries in one bag. I'll put the crackers together. But in this case, where the crackers are a different color on the back side, I do put those colored sides together because replicas will pick up colors from any surface you put them on. And I'll show you what happens. Here's my hamburger. And I really like to display this with the cheese. I make a cheeseburger. I put a nice slab of onion on it, some ketchup. We usually use some mustard. And I keep that on display in our conference room. But the onion has picked up the yellow color from the cheese. I'm not going to be able to wash that out. And so it needs to be replaced more often when you leave the replicas with each other. So I store each replica in its own bag. And I prefer to put the glasses or the glass custard cups, the blueberries, the blackberries, the Jell-O, all comes in a glass custard cup. I keep those right in the bubble wrap that they come in. That's the best way to store them. Now you may have noticed that the beverages are all a little bit different. The cola is a very hard surface. The orange juice and the wine are molded right in the glass and they're a little bit softer surfaces. They will absorb different pigments, even fingerprints sometimes. So you want to be a little bit careful with those. These glasses cannot be replaced. The milk and some of the juices and the new water replica are all inserts, and you just take it right out of the glass. This is a little bit different kind of plastic. It's a little bit harder. Can still be washed in a sink of hot soapy water, but you can purchase a new glass if your glass cracks. And we do sell those right in the catalog. So as I said, the most important thing in caring for your replicas is to store them well. I'm going to show you a couple of different kinds of storage that we offer in the catalog. For those of you that educate on the road and are loading your car every day with different things, I like this case. It has a very sturdy handle and I can put a lot of different replicas in there. This was relatively new. This one was designed when we came out with the MyPlate kit. It has a nice place for your files, your notes, any tear pads you want to use. I can fit the entire MyPlate kit and 5 plates in this fiberboard container. I still keep my replicas in plastic within this because I really don't want them to absorb different colors. So I would store them in my office in this container ready to go. You do want to keep them away from any heat source. You don't want to leave them in your car in a warm climate or in the summertime. Heat will affect them and it does get very warm in your car. So that's one option if you're traveling as you educate. One of my favorite storage items if you're working in a hospital setting or you do your educating in the same place is this little cabinet. It's relatively inexpensive. They're plastic containers. It's really meant for scrapbooking. But it's shallow, so you're not as tempted to stack your replicas one on top of the other where they're going to absorb colors. And you can store them by meals, or you can store them by food groups, or you can have a couple of drawers for diabetes education, a couple for kidney education. I find this to be very helpful and a nice way to keep them. Now, I didn't put these in plastic bags. You should, but I use them often. And I don't stack them one on top of each other. I laid the tomato away from the rest. When I use this, I put the tomato right on top of the romaine lettuce. The plastic from the plate will not absorb into the food because it does have a plastic coating on it. The food, however, could make a mark on the plate itself. So you really don't want to store it like that for very long. The plates can also be washed. And these, I put them in, some of them in plastic bags. This would be kind of a breakfast unit that you would just have, and you could take this unit right out, carry it into a different room, and use it for education like that if that's all you wanted to take. The casters come off of these so that you can actually stack them in your office, or it's about desk height, and it could fit underneath a shelf. So those are two different kinds of storage that we have for food replicas. Again, the most important thing is keeping plastic around your replica. So food replicas are made of polypropylene. They're latex and non-toxic. The polypropylene is a petroleum product, and sometimes you'll notice that they might almost feel a little bit greasy, and some have different consistencies. As I mentioned before, the cola is a little bit harder surface than the orange juice. And you'll notice that as you feel them. That's one of the exciting things about food replicas, is that we do work with that extra sense of touch. And that's why people remember the portion sizes better using replicas than they do just looking at a picture. You'll notice that I've got 2 pieces of cheese here. And they're different ages, been used differently, and the color could change a little bit. But quite honestly, when I buy cheese in the store, it all has different colors as well. This one, however, got laid next to the newspaper, and you can see that it did pick up all of the print from the newspaper. If you had a mirror, you could read it exactly what it says on it. I'm not sure that that will come off, but we're going to give it a try. So I run a sink full of hot soapy water. I use regular dishwashing soap. If it makes you feel better, you could use a tablespoon of bleach per sink full of water. You don't want to use very much bleach because it could actually take the color out. I'm also going to try this onion just for fun and see if we can get any of the color out of that. The white ones need to be washed more often. They do seem to absorb more colors than the others. And that milk, I'm going to pop that insert right out. We may not get these all washed today. The egg also seems to attract more color and more dyes than some of the other replicas. The yolk even sometimes absorbs into the white. I'd suggest using a drying mat or a towel underneath a basic dish rack. You wash them in a sink full of hot soapy water. Sometimes I use a real soft brush. The replicas are all made differently though. Some are made with a solid color, others have additional colors added in a variety of different techniques. And if you use a brush too vigorously, you could alter some of that added color. So you want to treat them pretty carefully. Just kind of wash the dust off, I guess, is the most important thing. And rinse them very well. And don't use a towel. They will absorb any lint that you have. So you just let them air dry. Certainly the glass and the inserts could be towel dried because we aren't so worried about lint on that. One of the other things that I didn't mention was the new laser printing that we have on the back of new replicas. Most of them have the replica number and the portion size laser engraved right on the back. This should not wash off. Some of the old ones, and I do have some old ones here. Here's one that has a label that is adhered on. Those will sometimes wash off. And in a minute, I'm going to show you a secret how to put a label back on. As I said, the white ones need a little bit more washing than the others. This bun is molded in the white. The brown is added on, so I don't want to go after the brown side of that with any kind of a brush. We also sell a Nasco cleaner that I'm going to show you in a minute. I like to use soap and water to start with. Rinse them well. Seems kind of weird to put the Coke right in the sink of water, but they get very dusty. The cheesecake also absorbs a lot of dust, and nobody wants to eat brown cheesecake. For some reason, there's a chemical reaction with the hamburger that we don't notice with some of the others, and the hamburger changes color more than others. As I mentioned, they're latex and toxic free. They are not intended to be used by children that are not supervised. They are not toys, they're educational tools. And we want to be careful that we don't let children take a bite out of them because unfortunately they could choke. Sometimes many of them are so real that they could think that it was real food. The avocado is one of my favorites. And the ice cream needs to be scrubbed up a little bit. This one I would not be afraid to use a brush on. Get inside some of those crevices. Some of the replicas have such great texture, but it's a great place for dirt to hide. Customers tell me from time to time that they put them in the dishwasher. We do not recommend that. The dishwasher has very, very hot temperatures, and the detergent that you use in your dishwasher is actually one of the harshest chemicals you have in your house, and it could affect the replicas. I'm just going to do a couple more. Here's the crackers that I showed you. I keep those separate. One more I want to fish out. I do have one banana that someone used a marker on, and a magic marker will bleed all the way through a replica. You don't want to mark right on the replica itself with a magic marker. And my onion did not change color. That is permanently going to be a yellow color. So we're just going to call that a different variety of onion. Okay, I would let those air dry for a while. As I mentioned, you could still go in and dry that glass, or some of the other replicas that come in a bowl. Certainly you can dry those. You don't want to put them back together until they are completely dry. You don't want to get any moisture in them. Yeah, I would let them air dry. I can see that this is already picked up lint. And my cheese, none of the ink from the newspaper came off. That's pretty serious ink that they use. So once people write on them with ink, I have not found a good way to get the ink out either. That's why you want to make sure that people are supervised when they're using them. You have to let them touch them. That's one of the great things about using food replicas is the touch. So I would let those just drain until you can't see any more water. We also sell Nasco cleaner. This is right in the catalog, and it comes by itself or it comes in a complete care kit. And this is a nice white creamy substance. I like to use a plain light colored cloth and just rub some right on that cloth. This helps condition the replicas too. Sometimes they just need a little conditioning. It might bring a little shine back. And as I mentioned, the white ones sometimes do need, they absorb more colors, or those that are soft. You just put it right on the cloth and rub any stains off. I'm going to try that on the onion again too. The soap and water didn't do much good. Sometimes you do just need to replace them. And the ones that have paint marks on them, clearly you can see that the grill marks on the chicken are painted on, and it makes it more realistic. But you want to be a little bit careful when you're washing that. Now, it's not so fragile that you can't wipe the cleaner conditioner right on it. It works just fine. And as I mentioned, those that are lasered on the back, the information is all lasered right on the back, and that should not come off. This is the grilled chicken strip. It has the WA29094 number. It tells the batch so that we can go back and tell what day those were made if we need to reference that at some point. And it gives the portion size as 1.5 ounces. Some of the old replicas had labels, and those labels did come off. This is one of the old style labels that were used, and these are still used on a variety of things where the surface isn't large enough or flat enough to go in the laser printer. We do sell a kit that includes the cleaner, additional labels. Perhaps you want to indicate how many carbs your foods are, or you want to use calories. We do not include that. We only have the portion size because everyone uses them a little bit differently. But if you wanted to do some special labeling, the care kit includes labels and a permanent marker and some Vinabond glue. So I'm going to show you how I would suggest using that. The corn tortilla came with a separate label, and it has come off. Our recommendation is to put some of the glue right on the surface, and I'm going to use a paintbrush today to smooth it out. Lay the label right on top of that, and the secret is to go back over it with another layer of the Vinabond, and that should keep it down and make it so that it will not rub off again. Now I think that you might even want to try to let that dry when you put the first layer on the replica. Let it dry a little bit, get it just a little bit tacky before you put this label on. You'll see that the bread also has a spot where a label goes on. So they would just put this label on with the same technique in our manufacturing plant before it comes out. Use the glue first. All glues don't work with the polypropylene, and the Vinabond is one that we have found that works very well. So if you have a minor tear, we want to keep the replicas pliable, and unfortunately that makes them so that you could, if you had some children working with them, they could pull it apart if they tried real hard, and a small tear you could repair with the Vinabond glue. The other thing I wanted to mention today is if you want to alter the portion size, it's very easy to do. If you want to make a half sandwich or a half a piece of bread, just take a scissors and cut right through it. It may not be cut perfect, but my bread isn't always cut perfect when I use a knife either. So I could make a half a sandwich, or I could just tell somebody that you know, today a half a piece of bread is what you're going to get at your noon meal if you're going to have other grains. And this is 3 ounces of beef tenderloin. For many of the people that we work with, we might only want to show 2 ounces. And you can, some of them you can portion a little bit more easily than others. And yet, if I'm working with an 18-year-old boy that can eat that full 3 ounces and then some, you can lay that on the plate and put it right together. The majority of your replicas arrive in a vacuum-sealed package with a cardboard like this. Now, some of them just come shrunk because the apples, the oranges, the whole pieces won't go on this flat piece very well. But the majority will come on this card. We have 2 different sizes. There is a variety of information that would be very helpful that's on the back of this. Should you ever want to reference anything, it's another place to look. But I know that we open these and we tend to throw this information away. But there is information on the back with some tips about labeling, cleaning, storage, how to repair them, a variety of things like that. And the catalog also has other sources. The catalog is the only place where the complete portion size is recorded in both American and metric measurements, where each individual replica is listed. Don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions about caring for your replicas. You can always reach me at nutrition@enasco.com as an email. There are other answers and other videos on our website that should help you, and the website is www.enasco.com/nutrition. Will take you right to the nutrition site. And friend us on Facebook or like us on Facebook at NASCO Nutrition, and there may be some special offers there.